Ladies and gentlemen, Bitcoin has just gone above the $70,000 threshold. Matter of fact, Bitcoin just touched upon $72,000. You guys all know what that means. It's just been absolutely crazy recently because it keeps making me realize just how early we all are. The fact that right now we are getting to these 2021 tops, but it feels like, oh, we're at all-time high prices again, right? Whoa. But you have to realize those are previous all-time high prices. We still have our own price discovery to do and higher prices to go towards. Like, we're at the start of the surge. But the surge itself feels like such a big deal, but it kind of isn't. And so to put it into perspective, Bitcoin right now just crossed its all-time high. And the majority of us believe that Ethereum is going to be one of the ones that get the majority of the gains afterwards. But it's literally going to happen all across the board. Solana still has to double in order to get really exciting. XRP has been it's been kind of a little behind, but you got to realize most of the altcoins at the top here are because they outperform later. Bitcoin runs first and then these altcoins go. I had a lot of news sites before that I used to show you guys with all the crazy news that came out about crypto, right? You want to know the funniest thing? There's now a couple of articles here and there of people explaining why to buy Bitcoin before some crazy stuff will happen, and it makes sense. But I will tell you right now that news is so far in the back and everybody is just talking about our top altcoins, the top picks, the top coins, yada, yada, yabba, because it makes them so much more money. We've bought many altcoins over the past couple of months that have already done a 5 or 10x. If we put $1,000 in, right now it'd be at $5,000 or $10,000 in a month. And when you realize that, you understand that a lot of the news that you seem to care about or wait for is just not that relevant unless it's about some more fundamental parts, like for example about Bitcoin in the sense of, hey, what are the institutions doing exactly? Or, oh, some really massive news for Cardano, some game-breaking stuff, for example, or news on the Ethereum/Bitcoin products of sort, perhaps on a government level, Bitcoin buying advised as US enters the looting the treasury phase. Amid rising national debt levels in the US, influencers on X say Bitcoin is the only realistic solution to sidestep inflation. And indeed, if you start looking into it, it does make a lot of sense, which is why I believe guys like BlackRock, etc., are also going for a similar sort of strategy. And the London Stock Exchange to accept Bitcoin and Ethereum ETNs, the United Kingdom's Financial Conduct Authority said it would not object to requests to create a market segment for crypto-backed ETNs. So those are exchange-traded notes, and the London Stock Exchange just said they will start accepting applications in the second quarter of this year. But as I stated before, if you're focusing fully on Bitcoin, I don't think that's bad. I just think you'll miss out on a lot of gains from all these altcoins. But ultimately, Bitcoin won't do bad over time, especially now with the new BRC, CBRC, ordinals, and runes all coming up to Bitcoin. Bitcoin will be the biggest, Cathie Wood predicts, for Bitcoin by 2030. And to me, that is such an interesting question. Where will we be in like 5 or 6 years? Another cycle forward, because my focus is really for every single person that's watching. I'm not your financial advisor, but to really get you guys ready for this run and maximize it. So anybody that really puts the focus in can retire after just a year or two, because that's how crazy these things can get if you're well prepared. I guess I don't really stop that often anymore to think about the next cycle. There's some coins that I'm buying for a little bit of a longer term, but personally, I think that's only if you're investing in pre-sales, getting into early rounds. If you're not, for the most part, I think it's better to just focus on what's happening right now, what to get into right now, and focus on the rest in the bear market, or perhaps as the next bull market starts to come along, because it's really, really hard for humans to think that further or that much further into the future, realizing, for example, just how far AI has come in this little bit of time. And the fact that a couple years ago, nobody was thinking about AI coins, and right now it's the absolute hottest thing. Similarly, a lot of people thought that the Bitcoin ETFs would take a very long while, and all of a sudden they're like a very normal thing, basically, or at least starting to become. And all these other ETFs are starting to get talked about as well. It just happened really fast. To get back to it though, Cathie Wood, previously targeting $1 million per Bitcoin by 2030, while acknowledging the regulatory approval, said that target, it was before the SEC gave us green light. And I think that was a major milestone, and it has pulled forward the timeline. So she basically, instead of 2030 $1 million, now says that that is a very conservative bet, and that the whole $1 million, price target could actually happen significantly quicker. Anyway, to get back to it though, if you want to outperform the crypto market, there's a couple ways to do it. Here's, for example, one of the coins I bought early, like I told you guys about. And what's funny is the reason I didn't sell at the start is because I realized how the unlocks were looking for the early stage investors. And I realized if I just kind of wait ever so slightly, because we're talking about the span of like a week or two, right? If I wait ever so slightly, I expect it to have still a massive leg upwards. So this is basically what I had for DChat, but as you guys might know, I had a similar situation with 𝗕𝗏𝗃, where I told you guys, hey, it's at 50 something cents or so. I think actually when I made the video about it, it was like 85 cents when I put it in one of my top coin lists. And I said, it will probably do pretty well over time because it hasn't gotten to the levels which I expected it to go yet. And with a lot of these early stage coins, they're so low in market cap, but have such proper backing that there's just more that needs to happen. And with Octavia, it was similar. I think another coin that's in that bracket, but take this with a little bit more of a grain of salt because it's a longer time span, is Linex, where again, it started relatively low. It really hasn't moved up too much ever since its inception, which again was like 2 weeks ago or so. It's doubled, but it's not really a lot. I talked about this one, I think at like 13 cents or so, where I said, hey, this might be a good one to go for. But here, it's, I think, one of the biggest projects on Linea over time, and it really hasn't done too much yet. But if you look at it, if you look at Linea, for example, what's the hottest thing? What's really popping off? Well, one is going to take the charge, right? And so just to make sure I've got some money into that sector, we're going for some of the smaller ones here. $2 million worth of market cap, even fully diluted, just 17 mil. It's mini. So I'm putting some money in just to be sure, because I do believe this one could really, really run over time. And that's the thing. If you're just going with Bitcoin and a couple of the top altcoins, you'll do well. But we consider that to be market. If you really want to have a little edge over them, you're going to want to probably sign up for all the launch pads and look into it, right? Be airdrop farming all day, every day. And I should add that many of those can be completely free. If you guys want more guides on airdrops, over the next week, I'll probably release at least 5 or maybe even 7 airdrop videos, because it's something I think a lot of people need to get started with. And the more time you wait, the less benefits you've got. You got to start early with airdrop farming, as early as humanly possible. Anyway, I should also add, what a lot of people like to do is they like to chase pumps. They like to, for example, look at a coin like Theta here and see, oh, it's up 18%. Let me buy it because it's massively pumping. Now, this is kind of contra to what the title of the video will probably say, but you know, there's another strategy a lot of people go for that's really, really popular, really profitable in bull markets, and as the inverse of that, meaning if you've seen Theta right now up 18.5%, you have now tagged this as a momentum type of crypto, a crypto that's got power to go for gains. And in bull markets, you want to really make sure you've seen coins do some numbers, otherwise skip them. You know, if your coin is not doing any numbers any day, it's not really pumping up too much, you might as well skip it for now unless you've got another good reason to hold it. But generally speaking, what's worked pretty well with coins that have got great and crazy momentum is that as long as Bitcoin keeps going on, these will push onward. And so if we've got Pepe, for example, going from 981 all the way down to 824 or 825, let's say 81 even, just so from let's say 95, 96 to about 81, that's a good opportunity to buy it. Why? Well, what my bots used to do and what I describe sometimes is, in a bull market, you can almost buy anything, and you'll know that in the near future, it'll be up more. And so what you're hoping for is that coins go down a good bunch, so you can buy them at a better discount to then make gains as the prices go up. But the more volatile it is, the more money that you'll be making. And so if you go for coins that have the highest amount of trendiness, because this is number one trending, the highest number of gains over a little bit of time, the only thing you gotta watch out for is that it doesn't collapse and never recover. But that's basically the only counter to this, is that you're expecting the crypto bull market to continue. And if it does, this strategy almost always works. And if you want to be safer, you just go to bigger and bigger altcoins. So for example, you can go a little bit riskier. This is, for example, pick a render. A little bit less risky is an Ethereum, and the least risk is a Bitcoin, for example. Because history has shown if you just keep buying Bitcoin at lower prices, ultimately you end up at a profit. Even if you just buy Bitcoin every single day, you'll end up at a profit. Anyway, I'll get back to it in an ad. Right now, for example, some of the AI coins are cooling down, right? I think you guys are all noticing it, that some of them are not pumping as much as before. Here's the kicker though, and this is so important for people to realize. This is the moment, in my opinion, where we go even harder. For example, some of these coins I've talked about so much on my channel. I don't even want to name them anymore because I've talked about them so much. And I know that even though the gains might not look amazing day one, if we look back in a few weeks or a few months, it'll be so insane. We just have to give it some time. We just have to understand the process. For example, AIs. There have been a couple of opportunities to just buy the freaking dip. Fetch right here is a pretty significant dip. But what I know is if I just keep buying this, since the AI space is only going to get bigger, and as of this point, NVIDIA is still going rampant, the only thing we're watching out for is, hey, okay, so NVIDIA right now, on the very short term is looking kind of negative. Probably that's why AI coins didn't really pick up so nicely right now, right? Because it's down a lot. And that's the thing, NVIDIA is up so much. I think it's the third or second biggest company in the world almost, that sometimes corrections are due. And if this corrects even harder, there is of course some potential for AI coins to not have the best of times. And if you're wondering why this says November 2566, it's because different parts of the world have different ways to show the year. Concluding though, I think every single one of us knows that AI as a concept is trendy, but it's not as trendy as it's going to get, especially with OpenAI announcing Sora, but it's still not being into full effect. We know the space will do even better. So my thought process is, now that people are getting scared and they're not buying as massively, we're seeing a slight dip of sorts. Now go heavy. Now go hard. And it might take a few weeks for it to recover. It could. But we know the industry has that potential. And with a lot of these top coins, even in the meme coin space, it would have worked if you just kept believing, because it's a bull market, usually these things don't stop running until Bitcoin gives up. And so that's your precursor. That's your main point of watching. But since Bitcoin now went into price discovery mode, I think everything is as far as confirmed as far as I can take it. And so I'm extremely bullish. What I just described here is a little way to beat the curve, beat a lot of other people by not just only following the gains and buying them as they're pumping, because that way you'll lose quite often, but buying them as some really hot coins are coming down, which happens every couple of days, right? Also, by looking at coins that have just launched that went for a slight dip, not all of them, you have to realize a bit of what the circumstances were, but that's what I describe in a lot of my videos here, and just go for sectors that are hot or up and coming. That's why I've been making AI videos for a few months, and many people are just starting to get into it now, because you have to think ahead of what the next trend is going to be, and I can tell you right now what they are, right? I've told you before. AI, gaming, the Bitcoin ecosystem, real world assets, and so those are my main ones. Those are my main ones. At the start and the end of a run, usually memes have a crazy performance, which again, everything I said before, if I had to go all into one sector, it would either be memes or AI, both of which have popped off right now, and it still stands. But you can beat the curve by understanding the trends and acting upon it. And that's why I've been making the same video 50 times over the last 6 months, maybe even a year and a half, of this is how you're early, this is how to prepare. Most people fade it. They don't like to watch those videos until it's very late. But if you're still around, you'll know how much we've talked about prepare now. I think my camera's kind of stuck. But to prepare now for crazy things which are about to happen, and they just keep getting crazier, so you get less and less time if you keep stalling. Hopefully you guys are ready for crazier things that are about to happen. I'll be here with you guys throughout the journey, and what a massive week it's been, huh?